Common Sense America with Eden Cornell. Yeah.
And good morning, Common Sense America. It's Friday. We made it. It is Friday, March the 24th. We are headed into the last week of March as we get ready for spring break, Easter, and a great summer ahead here in Eastern North Carolina. I'm so glad to be here with you. Excuse the background drop. We are moving. Yes, we are moving. It is official. We are moving and we are packing up. And my husband took down all of my displays yesterday. So I put up a couple makeshift things. So we are here in Eastern North Carolina and we remain here in Eastern North Carolina, but we're just switching houses. So how fun is that? Well, welcome here this beautiful Friday morning. It is going to be up to 70 some degrees today. And I have to tell you a fun story. Yesterday, you know how much I love talking about education, how much I love talking about the next generation, how much I love talking about just being able to impact and mentor and work with children. Yesterday, I got a little knock on the door yesterday, and it was one of our neighbor kids saying, Miss Eden, I am going to be President Donald Trump for my school class. And we are going to be speaking about each one of us in our class has to dress up like the person we want to talk about. And we have to talk in first person and we have to do a huge design and representation of this person. And this little guy came over to me and said, will you help me with my project? I said, of course. And he said, tell me your stories about Donald Trump. And, you know, I love being able to, and this kid is, I'm guessing, I think he's 10. He's probably 10. Smart kid, athletic, loves sports, but he loves Donald Trump. And I just love this kid. So I pulled out my gear. I pulled out my Trump flag. I pulled out my Trump signs. I pulled up my Trump hats, and he is set and ready. So, but I was asked to come back and help him prepare his speech today as he is getting ready for, I think it is in about a week or so, he will get to present this to his class and the parents. And I may sneak over and watch him. I'm so proud of him. He even has the Donald Trump wig. And he will have the suit, the red tie, and the flag pin. This kid is all things patriotic. He's all things about America. He is all things Donald Trump. I am so proud of him. And you know what, you guys? This is what America is about, raising the young minds, not with watered down history, but raising the young minds for tomorrow. And this kid's got it right. And so does his sisters. I love it. I absolutely love it. They know exactly what's happening in Washington, D.C. They know exactly what Biden dictatorship is doing. They know exactly what happened with Trump. They get it. They get it. They have common sense. What about you? Do you got common sense? I think for everybody who tunes into this show, I think you got common sense. I love this show, Common Sense America. So I also want to tell you, there were some big things that happened on Capitol Hill yesterday. If you will remember, Bridget Ziegler, she was a Sarasota County School Board candidate, and now she is a Sarasota County School Board member endorsed by Governor Ron DeSantis. And she has been posting on her Twitter account about parental rights and what is going down on Capitol Hill. I tell you what, Daily Signal with the Heritage Foundation put out a report yesterday. I want to read it to you. And here's why I want to read it to you. Because I see what's happening here in our nation's backyard. And this show is all about making sure our kitchen table discussions know what is going on. And I'll tell you what's going on in Onslow County is not good. And that's why I'm bringing this up. Parental Bill of Rights, huge deal. Last night in Virginia, there was candidates for United States Senate, candidates for Virginia Senate coming together, hosting a forum on parental rights. Did you ever think we would have to even talk about this? I didn't. I am not a parent, but I am a godparent. I am a mentor, and I am a concerned citizen for what is happening and the rights that are being removed from these precious parents. They are the ones that are supposed to be raising the kid, not the school administration, not the Department of Education, and not the teachers or the principals. They were called there to teach and not water down history, ladies and gentlemen, but they were called there to teach. At least I thought they were. But if you look, I'm curious. And, on Monday, I'm just going to loop this in. On Monday, we have here live on the show, candidate for Lieutenant Governor Hal Weatherman. One of his top issues is school choice, parental rights, and the halls of education. I'm going to talk to him about budget numbers. What budget numbers? Talk to us about the local level and the school administrations and who is lining their pockets with this DEI stuff and taking away our parental rights. I want to know. Somebody's getting a cut out of it. You and I both know that. So we're going to be talking about that. But let me just send you this source. I want to make sure as you head into this gorgeous weekend, wherever you may be. Hey, New Yorkers, thank you so much for supporting the show. Hey, Pennsylvania, Nottingham, Oxford, surrounding areas, Russellville, thank you for supporting Common Sense America. And hey, Hubert, Swansboro, Morehead City, Cedar Point, thank you for supporting the show. And to my friends and family in Florida, Ohio, Indiana, California, across this great country, thank you. I love hearing from each and every one of you. Okay, Parental Bill of Rights, here we go. This is what has been talked about, and this is what's going down. So yesterday on Capitol Hill, we had a huge day on Capitol Hill yesterday. Oh, how I'd have loved to have charged the Hill for our Parental Bills of Rights. Okay, education commentary written by Kevin Roberts, Daily Signal. Go to dailysignal.com, check it out. Kevin Roberts, he wrote this education commentary yesterday. The stunning success of conservative education reform across the country in the past few years is the result of moral fact. Parents are children's primary educators. Applause, applause. Hashtag common sense education. Until very recently, this was not disputed, let alone controversial. Thank you. But lately, it has become very clear that progressive elites who run teachers' unions and school boards, the Democratic Party, and the corporate media no longer share this view. Their contempt for parents' rights has fueled a long train of abuses from racist curricula to a war on girls' sports and bathrooms to darker episodes of criminal cover-ups and student grooming. The good news is conservative leaders have answered this challenge with this action rather than just tweets and talking about it. I would love to see this happen in the state of North Carolina. Stop tweeting and stop talking about it and do your jobs. Yes, I am saying that to the General Assembly. I'm saying that to our most recent elected leaders. I'm saying that to our state house rep who isn't doing anything. Show me something. Stop talking and stop tweeting and stop posting and do something about it. 15 states have already adopted parents' bills of rights, laws that have affirmed moms and dads as the ultimate authority on their kids' education. Lawmakers in a dozen other states are considering similar proposals this year. Some governors, such as Florida's Ron DeSantis, America's governor, have gone even further, asserting authority over public education in their states to, among other things, rid school libraries of pornographic books and classrooms of woke indoctrination. Okay, thank you very much, America's governor. Can we get a real governor in the state of North Carolina, please? Can somebody stand up? And for those who are not hearing this in the back, turn up your hearing aids. Get up and start doing something. Get up and start voting. Get up and actually do something. We have got to fight for the kids. We've got to fight for the next generation. And I'll tell you what, America's governor is doing it. Not North Carolina governor. I don't see him doing squat. And you guys know it. I'm coming after him because he is not doing anything for our school districts. He cares more about this state being a destination abortion state. When did this happen? When did this happen in our precious country, in our precious state? Well, I'll tell you what. At 9:15 in just 3 minutes, we are bringing over somebody who fled Iran for freedom. And she's going to talk about the woke cult. She's going to talk about socialism. She's going to talk about how Iran 40 years ago was a capitalistic society. And guess what happened? It was taken over by the Bernie Sanders and the Democrats and the progressives and the Republicans in name only. That's what's happening here, and she's seeing it. She is a George Washington University law student. She speaks for Young Voices. She is a new guest here at Common Sense America, and I cannot wait for you to finally meet her. We're going to be breaking it down. We're going to be talking about the social justice warriors. We're going to be talking about Bernie Sanders. We're going to be talking about the government control. And let's put the United States of America and Iran side by side. Wait until you see the difference and wait until you see the similarities. We're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back. Thank you so much for joining Common Sense America. It's Friday, March the 24th. We are fired up on New York Zabar's coffee. Thank you very much. And very grateful to be here and to speak the truth to God, country, and family. We'll be right back. And thank you all so much for joining here, Common Sense America. It is such a pleasure and an honor to bring over a very powerful voice who escaped Iran, a student at George Washington University of Law. I absolutely love her stunning name, Tahmineh. It's such a gorgeous name. I'm so excited to introduce you to Tahmineh. Good morning and welcome to Common Sense America. I'm so glad to finally meet you.
Good morning. Great to meet you too as well, Eden.
Oh, thank you. Thanks so much for being here. And we prepped our audience last week. I know we had some calendar exchange discrepancies, and no worries at all. I love Young Voices and I love having you here. But would you please share with our common sense conservative values, moms, dads, retirees, military families, veterans? Can you share with them just a little bit about you and how you fled from Iran? How did that all come to be? Because I've heard a lot of your interviews, but they don't know what I know.
So I was born and raised in Iran, and I spent the first 18 years of my life there. And, as I was growing up, the situation just kept getting worse and worse. The economy was getting worse. And my parents, they had a daughter and they knew that this country is not a place to raise a girl. And they did all they could. We had attorneys in the US. We tried our best. So we finally were able to obtain a immigration status and move to the United States. And that was something I believe was, God's will.
Yes.
And so we decided to move here finally. The situation just was not stable, and it was difficult because you have family, you have loved ones, you have a house, you have a job,
Right.
friends, and everything you care about, and you have to leave everything behind, pack your bags, and come to a country where you don't know anything about, you don't have any family or friends, you don't speak the language. And that is a very difficult transition. And we did all of that so we could have basic human rights.
I'm sitting here thinking, and I can only imagine. I know that you're with the Dissent Project and you're with Young Voices, and you are studying law at George Washington University, one of my favorite schools in the nation. I did some of my undergrad there when it was an all-girls school at Mount Vernon Women's College. So I have a lot of respect for what you have done. Are you going to write a book about basically escaping the Ayatollah of Iran? Because I listened to some of your interviews this morning and I've been watching some of the work that you've been doing. You talk a lot about a comparison to finding freedom and what you escaped from. But so I'm going to ask you this. Are you writing a book about this? Are you going to be publishing something that will be guiding the next generation, the young woman, about what is happening and what they need to be aware of?
Dissident Project has given me amazing tools to be able to share my story with young people. Every time I speak to a group of students at universities and other places, or even I've spoken to book clubs and just anyone who's been interested in hearing about it. And, many individuals have told me that this is not what they imagined it would look like. First of all, a lot of people who are older generation remember how Iran used to be before 79. It was a free country and people had freedom. But a few years later, women would be beaten up if they are showing their hair, and men and women are segregated in public places. I mean, this is what time of the history are we living in? So that transition is very shocking for people, but because we don't want to talk about other countries in the United States, in the academia they don't talk about it. It's been individuals are interested in hearing the truth, like what happened to Iran, what was the cause, how did a country which is wealthy, has educated people, has a lot of young people, suddenly become a dystopia? So I would love to continue sharing my story in the future, and hopefully one day I will.
You have a fabulous story. Even though I have this podcast here at Common Sense America, I also represent a lot of book authors, and I love sharing their powerful stories. And you are a woman of influence. You are a powerful source.
You're really so kind.
You really are. Okay, let's break down. I have in my notebook here, I have the United States of America in one column. I have Iran in the next column. Let's talk about the comparisons of the two and what you're seeing now from the social progressive agenda from the very far left and what they are doing. Let's compare those right now, and then let's also show the distinctions of how the United States of America is still a one nation under God. I pray that it will remain that. But let's talk about some of the red flags that you were seeing in this socialistic mindset, the watered down of history, the watered down of, in this woke cult that they're infiltrating in our universities and our school systems. I was just talking about the Parents' Bill of Rights happening yesterday on Capitol Hill. Talk to me about the comparisons and also then the contrasts.
Yeah, just like the United States, Iran is a big country, has diverse number of people living in there. Not everyone is a Shia Muslim. There are a lot of Christians, there are a lot of Jewish people, and people speaking different languages. They live in Iran, and they all identify as Iranians. Not everyone is a Persian. We have Turks, Kurds, Lurs, but everyone understand they're all Iranians, just like America. We are all Americans, no matter where we came from and how we look like and what language we speak. We all are united under the flag of the United States of America. And that is something that I see, which is common between both countries, this like strong sense of nationhood. And historically in Iran, there has been groups that have tried to erode that, and that is the Islamic Republic government. They have actively been trying to take away the identity as Iranian, our unity as individuals who have lived in this country for thousands of years, and try to replace it with religion that is not something we all share. Not everyone is a Shia Muslim, and not everyone even speaks the same language, but this government has tried to take away and divide us on that ground. And that's something I see also happening in the United States, that there are groups that try to tell people they should be ashamed of their identity as Americans. And the whole identity, being an American is not a good thing to be. And they try to take away the unity that American people have, and they try to divide people into groups and label them and tell them this is how you should behave and this is what your rights are. It was very shocking to me to see that when I came to the United States. Like, this is the greatest country on the planet, very accepting. I mean, as an immigrant, I can come to the United States, become an American citizen, and pursue careers, contribute to the economy, and have same rights as someone who was born here. This is amazing, and then there are groups who tell me that, no, you're supposed to act like you're oppressed because you are a woman, you are a minority. And I just absolutely don't accept it. On the other hand, Eden, when I went to undergrad, it was very interesting to me when I was speaking to my classmates and listening to their concerns. Well, the Gen Z is an anxious population. I mean, young people are generally concerned that where is the country heading? I mean, we are facing a lot of issues. We inherited a post 9/11 foreign policy. We also inherited the COVID era, and that is very concerning. So, but at the same time, many young people were looking for, what's your solution? I want free college. I want free healthcare. These are the things that I feel very passionate for. I don't want guns. I want to take all the guns away. And I tell them this is exactly what happened in Iran just a few years ago, that the government took all the guns. The government, in the name of giving people free stuff, took away everyone's freedoms, economic freedom, social freedom. And maybe free college isn't as free as you think it is. Maybe it is too expensive. And that conversation was always shocking for many young people when I shared them my story, and many of them were receptive to it. It actually, I could see that things were clicking. So, I mean, I don't think the Gen Z is totally lost. I think a lot of it comes from the anxiety, and also academia doesn't help them. Professors, I've had professors who were very militant about spreading the message of Karl Marx, and which again, my parents tell me the stories of that's exactly what happened in Iran, in colleges and universities right before the revolution. The revolution of Iran did not get initiated by radical Muslims. It was actually initiated by socialists and activists who wanted to have a government similar to the Soviet Union. And we ended up here. The fundamentals of the Islamic Republic is very similar to the ideas of the left. Well, they're the same people. It's just they wear turbans and robes and they identify as clergy, but they are the same. So that was something else I was really concerned about when I moved to the US, that people just buy into this idea. The politicians, people like AOC, people like Bernie Sanders, repeat the same rhetoric as the leaders of my past country have said to trick American people into their agenda. And it was just not something I appreciated.
That's the thing. When you talk about AOC and Bernie Sanders, I'm looking here at my notes. I'm sitting here thinking that's exactly what they ran on, on their campaigns, whether it was for president or whether it was for, House. And it's all about giving this and giving that and then giving this with this entitlement now. And not necessarily just the Gen Zs, but there's this huge entitlement piece. Oh, what's the government going to give us now? But then, Ronald Reagan always said, if the government's giving you free stuff, there's going to be a repercussion for that. We are only one generation away from losing it all. And so let me ask you this, as we are talking about presidential, as we're talking about, you look at Trump, he still hasn't been arrested, says NPR. I think they were all hoping he would get arrested this week. I'm sitting there thinking, are you kidding me? So you look at DeSantis, you look at Trump, you look at Pence, you look at what we have currently in office. What do you see? And again, this is just from your standpoint of where you came from and what you're seeing now. Do you see red flags from any of those talking about being a candidate or those who have been or those currently in the administration now? I call it, I'm surprised YouTube hasn't taken me down yet, but I call it the Biden dictatorship. I mean, that's really what it looks like. So talk to me about that as we head into a very presidential season. We're already there. What are things that the American people and the Gen Zers need to be looking for and educating themselves on? Because it's like you said, when you finally bring the truth to light, you see the wheels turning. But that goes for every American in my backyard here in North Carolina, and every American in California. Talk to me a little bit about that.
So one of the greatest things about being in law school is we learn the Constitution very much in depth and learn about what are the duties and the powers of each branch of the government and what are the limits of their power and the whole checks and balances thing. And I think that's very important for presidential election. Candidates come and promise many things to American people. We're going to do this, we're going to do that. But they really do not have the constitutional power to do many of those things. And to me, that all sounds like campaign rhetoric. Presidents' most strongest power, which is actually enshrined in the Constitution, is their foreign policy and their impact on the world. I mean, President of the United States is the commander-in-chief. And I think that is something we should pay attention to more as American people, is that we're electing an official with absolute power over foreign policy. Are we electing someone who's going to do a great job with maintaining our global hegemony? Is he or she someone who will stand against our adversaries, or they're going to back down like Obama did and appease our enemies and let them to become bolder? So that's something I think we should pay attention to in the upcoming cycle. I see candidates like Nikki Haley who are strong in foreign policy. They have talked about it, and that's something I would like to see more from anyone who runs. We need to talk about president's most powerful authority, which is their foreign policy, their power over the military. What are they going to do? And at the same time, Congress is the legislative branch. They need to make sure that they pass the laws that serves their constituents and American people. And then we have the Supreme Court and the judicial system that needs to also check all of that. So at the same time, we got to remember, like, no one is above the law, and there are constitutional mechanisms that keep the balance, and that is very crucial to our democracy. I don't want to see any official, regardless of which party they come from, that are disrespectful to this constitutional balance. And
It
so
very
I
much
think
looks
that's
like that. It very much looks like that in many senses, the disrespect to the constitutional value. That's a really great soundbite and a great talking point right there, because I think that's what a lot of us, everyday Americans, concerned citizens, veteran spouse right here, military community, what is happening to the Constitution. It's as though it no longer really exists in the mindset of a lot of our elected leaders. That's very scary. And
yeah, and we have unelected leaders, the
yeah,
so-called independent agencies, that they have done many things that has restricted Americans' rights and freedom, especially in the COVID time, and we've seen, and that has gone unchecked. So that is a concern. Like, what are we going to do with this, like, fourth branch of government, administrative states, that is constantly looming over our heads
yes,
without any restraints?
right. Let's talk about women. Let's talk about the situation that happened about a week or so ago, the article that you guys had sent me. And it was talking to basically the morality police. And I want to talk to you about that as well. Iran says it's pardoned 20,000 in the wake of protests over oppression and the treatment of women. Break that down for me. What has been going on over there in the treatment of women? I was listening to NPR podcast about that from a couple days ago. I don't usually listen to NPR, but it's nice to hear some of the other type of media and what kind of things that they are putting out there. And they really went into great detail on the morality police and what they are restricting women from doing, and the death of Masa as well. So talk to me a little bit about what happened and what's on the international stage now for this. And then let's talk about what that looks like here in the United States as well.
Since 1979, Iran has been a dystopia. After 40 years of tyrannical rule of this government, the Iranian Gen Z is finally leading the fight against this government. And they stand in front of bullets, and it's risky. It's not just, they go out there and they face nothing. I mean, this is, we're talking about Iran. It's not the United States, where we have protected speech.
Right.
In the past 5 months, millions of Iranians have been coming out protesting, and the demand is no longer reforms. The demand is regime change. And because this government has totally destroyed Iran, and the human rights violations in these past years are well documented, and the arbitrary detentions, the killings, the extrajudicial executions of prisoners. And this concerned everyone from all walks of life, from across the world, because the Islamic Republic's actions don't only impact Iranians who live in Iran, but also Iranians who live abroad, Americans as well. So in the past 5 months, Iran's situation has been very unstable.
Right.
A young woman was killed by the morality police. The morality police harasses women for not properly wearing their scarf, and they took her into the van, and the new reports show that she was actually beaten to death and on her head, and she ended up in coma, and she passed away. They denied it. They denied any responsibility, but as I said, the new reports that are documented came out, and they're published everywhere across US news as well, that she was actually beaten by the police. So that was the last straw for people. And it sparked protests everywhere, not just in Iran, but also across the world. Here in Washington, D.C., I see protests every week. I participate, and it's just, there are like thousands of people out there. The scale is massive. And Iranians are tired. They're tired of being stripped of their fundamental rights. Women have no rights. They can't choose what to wear. They can't choose when to travel or where to go. They can't choose careers. The government has control over every aspect of citizens' lives. And the Gen Z no longer stands for that.
Right.
We are the generation of the internet. We know what's going on in the world.
Yes.
We know that we are not buying into this anymore. And people say this to me, and it's really horrifying. Like, I hear from my high school friends, like, I'd rather die than live here. So I will go out and stand against this government. I mean,
Mhm.
it has gotten so bad that people can no longer they no longer can put up with this. And
Right.
the concern is that the Biden administration will enter into nuclear talks with the Islamic regime again. And the Islamic government gets access to their funds and also to other financial assets abroad. They can use those funds to not only purchase more devices to use against Iranian people,
Right.
they can also continue developing the nuclear program. And you know what happens when regimes like the Islamic Republic have nuclear
Oh, yes.
weapons?
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
they will be
Yes.
absolutely unchallengeable.
Yes. Yes. No, most definitely. Do you still have family over there? You mentioned friends that are still over there. Do you still have family that are living over there?
I do, unfortunately,
Yeah.
but thankfully, my close family members are here.
Yes.
But I do have extended family back home, and
Mhm.
I am not in touch with them anymore because of the internet situation. The government has cut off the internet to people. The access has been really difficult, and that is something else. Like, many people have lost their businesses over there. They were selling things on Instagram and Facebook and other social media, and now they can't because the government shut down the internet, and that's just horrifying.
So completely censored them altogether.
Yes, the censorship the Islamic Republic is trying er to erase Iranian people from, from the world. They don't want Iranians to be part of the international community.
Do you does any of what you are what you experienced and what you're seeing happening now, does that put any fear in you as to what could be ahead for the United States of America with just the way the Democrat regime is running state by state and running the federal government, from the censorship, from the COVID lockdowns, from the mandates, just the full on authoritarian government control? Does that send a fear and a red flag up to you that we as Americans need to be more involved in fighting for specific things? What are your thoughts on that from a Gen Zer's perspective, knowing that you're out picketing for these precious women out there who are wanting to stand up for their rights? What do we need to do as Americans outside looking in? What would you say to I'm 45 and my age group? I am a veteran spouse. My husband fought in Iraq for our freedom. What do we say to our communities? Where do we need to be awake and aware and use our common sense?
The biggest issue for a lot of people is that, we get scared. Bad things happen in the world, and
Yeah.
people have genuine concerns, and politicians exploit that fear. Like, I
Mhm.
remember early days of COVID. It was very scary for everyone. It was very scary for me. I lost family members in the first few months of COVID, to COVID, and we were all concerned. But at the same time, we have to be aware of that. The fears of the world, yes, they require collective collaboration. We should all come together. However, that does not justify allowing the government to take away our fundamental rights and
Exactly.
our autonomy over our lives, because of that fear.
Mhm.
And that was something I believe we saw very much during COVID with the mandates, and that even in schools. the
Yes.
whole like mask mandate thing. I always compare mask mandate to mandatory hijab because this rhetoric was the same. Oh, you have to wear a mask to protect others from contracting COVID, and same thing. The Iranian government says like you have to wear hijab to protect the society from sin, and no one knows like what does that mean.
Right.
And so I remember like all these like arbitrary rules for COVID masking and social distancing, and how that much inhibited social life for young people after there were vaccines, after things were the rates were really low, and there was really no scientific evidence that
Right.
any of this even worked.
Right.
And now we see all the evidence coming out that it didn't work, it doesn't work.
Nope.
And many individuals who spoke against it were censored, they were shut down. And this is exactly what authoritarian regimes do. Like, they shut down dissent. And that's why there's a reason that your speech is protected under the First Amendment. It's
Yes.
so important. Even in the eyes of the founding fathers, it was very important. That's why they enshrined it in the First Amendment. And that's the one thing we saw being totally gone during COVID by government officials. It was freedom of speech. And I had the honor and the pleasure of working with attorneys last summer that challenged those mandates and fought for freedom of speech against the government officials who took it away at New Civil Liberties Alliance. That's where I was, and they do amazing work fighting for Americans' rights and freedoms. So I mean, the fight just doesn't stop when you leave the authoritarian country and come to the United States. The founding fathers didn't stop fighting. They came to the US and they kept fighting for freedom, and the fight continues because there will always be people who want to take our freedoms away, and we should just never let that happen.
No, I thank you for what you did with those lawyers and working on our behalf and the American people. Thank you for doing that. That's huge. I want to find out from you, and we're just about up on the break. I would love to find out what other pieces, articles are you working on? Where can we get engaged with you? I'd love to welcome you back here to Common Sense. You are a breath of fresh air of the Gen Zers. I have a lot of Turning Point USA and Young Voices on here, and you guys are just the best. And so I want to keep engaging and I'd love, obviously, open invitation to have you back. Thank you for what you're doing. But what do you have coming down the pike? Where can we follow you? Are you going to be speaking anywhere this summer? What do you have going on?
I write regularly for Southern California News Group. So I get published on Orange County Register and 8 other local newspapers in Southern California.
Okay.
So keep an eye on Orange County Register opinion columns. And also you can follow me on Twitter. And you can just look up my name on Twitter right here. And I promise I'm the only person with that name on social media. And if folks want to invite me to speak to their local groups or their high school, you can contact Dissent Project, and they will help coordinate that. And I'm working on a few other pieces about some of the regulations in California that want to take away freedom to choose what telecommunications network we choose. So I have some stuff going on there as well.
Every time I hear California, they're all about taking away people's freedoms. I swear Newsom doesn't even know what the word means. He does not like the word freedom at all. And that whole state just is so disturbing. But I know there's goodness there. I know great people there, and I know there's goodness. And we, like you said, we've got to keep fighting. We got to keep saving that state for sure. Well, I am so grateful to you. I'm grateful for your service. Thank you so much for your amazing work.
Thank you.
And I'm going to have you back, and I'd love to talk about religious freedom. If you are wanting to talk about that, that's something very important to me as well.
Absolutely. I would love to come back. Thank you so much, Eden. It was really great meeting you. And thank you so much for having me on your show.
My pleasure. Thanks for joining Common Sense America. Have a great weekend. Enjoy the warm weather if you have it. It's really warm here today.
Yes, it is raining here today, and it's really nice.
Oh, well, I'll see you soon. And thank you so much. Have a wonderful weekend.
You too. Bye.
Bye-bye. For all of those who are tuning in, this is Common Sense America. And what a phenomenal interview with Tahmineh. She escaped via Ayatollah of Iran. She is a student at George Washington University Law School. And you heard her talk about the comparisons and the contrast of Iran and how Iran used to be just 40 years ago and what changed that. And that was an authoritarian mentality and mindset. So on that note, I'm going to send around on our links a couple of the articles and her bio. If you guys are interested in having her speak here locally in Eastern North Carolina, or if you are interested in having her speak at one of your schools or with wherever you may be, she is just a phenomenal student of thought and has lived through so much. And as you can hear, her thought process, her testimony, and just her convictions of her beliefs and her faith and what she has done thus far and what she has in front of her. I'm so excited for her. So make sure you follow her on Twitter. We're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to end this amazing Friday with just a couple notes, and we will be right back. Thank you for joining Common Sense America. And we are back here at Common Sense America. It is just about 10 till 10 on this beautiful Friday, March the 24th. Thank you so much for being here with us here at Common Sense America. Thanks for your flexibility this week. We've had a very busy week here, and you know what? We have a great week ahead next week. Don't forget, join Monday, 9 a.m. right here. Lieutenant Governor candidate for North Carolina, Hal Weatherman's going to be joining us. We're going to be talking all things education. We're going to be breaking it down. I am so excited to see him. I'm so excited to welcome him to the show. We are focused here on God. We are focused on country, and we are focused here on family. And I also just put in the show notes, make sure you follow Tahmineh. Go follow her on Twitter. Look at her biography on the Dissident Project. She is doing so much for our nation. And you know what? I got a comment, a private comment, 5-star show. Thank you. 5-star show. What a great guest. Tahmineh can be a very positive, conservative influence in this country just from her personal background. Yes, and she already has been. So thank you. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for all of those who tune in, whether it is on YouTube after hours or whether it is here live. I'm grateful for you guys. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. I'm going to end the show on this note. I was just checking out the New York Post. Of course, I got to look at the New York Post. Are you kidding me? There's so much great food for the fodder. Are you kidding me? Okay, you ready? Sounds like Vice President Kamala is in trouble. Deep trouble, it says. Biden irked by Kamala Harris not, quote, rising to the occasion or taking anything off his plate. Two former White House officials says President Biden is frustrated with Vice President Kamala's performance. Well, we are all frustrated with both of your performances because you guys are lackluster and you don't do much of anything. So on that note, I hope you guys have a great weekend. we'll see you right back here Monday morning. Don't forget, save the date, 9 a.m. We're right here with Hal Weatherman. Have a great weekend, you guys. Thanks for supporting Common Sense America. Oh, and, if you want to, buy me a cup of coffee, just send me a private note. I always love coffee, and I always love chatter, and I always love talking about the great issues of this great country. So thank you. Until then, have a great weekend. We will see you soon.
It's time for Common Sense America.